Assalamu alaikum viewers, please like, share and subscribe this channel. Links of PDF files used in this video are given in description. So today's lecture is about chemistry of air pollution. So these are the main contents of this lecture. So first of all we will see what is air, then we will see what is air pollution, then we will have focus on two types of pollutants, namely primary and secondary pollutants. And what are the types of primary pollutants? Those include carbon monoxide, sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide, and particulates. Whereas the secondary pollutants involve ground level ozone or tropospheric ozone, acid rain, and nutrient enrichment. First of all, we will see why air is important. So, air is important as it provides oxygen and other gases that are essential to life on Earth. So, the air is actually a mixture of other gases, and those gases involve carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, argon, ozone, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, water vapors, ammonia. So, if we see that the biggest percentage of gas is nitrogen, which is about 78%, whereas remaining 21% is oxygen and remaining 2% is other gases, and the other gases are all these like carbon dioxide, nitrogen, oxygen, argon, ozone, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, water, and ammonia. There are also some other trace amount of gases such as methane, uh, which are having very less amount of concentration as compared to nitrogen and oxygen. So air provides us oxygen and also protects us from various harmful radiations that are coming from the sun. So clean air is very important to have a balance and to have sustained life on earth. However, this air is never cleaned and it is polluted by various types of species, and this phenomena is called as the air pollution. So the main reason of air pollution is the contents of air pollutants, and these contents are gases and are some particles that are built up in the atmosphere. They are not only providing harmful effects to the human being but also to the vegetation and also to the materials. The human health is affected the most, and some serious ailments such as the premature death is also happening due to the air pollution, as well as the environment is also in a damaging state. Now we will see that what are the main pollutants. So the pollutants, sometimes they are of natural origin and some are of man-made or anthropogenic. So the man-made or anthropogenic includes the burning of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, petrol, and diesel. Whereas the natural sources include volcanic eruptions and forest fires. So if we summarize that, the pollutant can be in any form of matter. It can be a solid particle, it can be a liquid droplet, or it can be a gas. For example, ozone and methane and carbon dioxide, these are gases. The various types of acids, these are liquids, and particulate matter, it is mostly in solid form. On the basis of origin, the air pollutants are divided into two types. Number one is called as primary pollutant, and the second type is called as secondary pollutant. A primary pollutant is the one that is emitted directly from the source, whereas the secondary pollutants are found when primary pollutants interact with each other in the atmosphere. So, with the passage of time, the concentration of secondary pollutants increases in the atmosphere. So, here we have some information about the primary pollutants. So, these primary pollutants include carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, ammonia, nitrogen dioxide, nitric oxide, carbon dioxide, volatile organic carbons, and particulate matter. So the aeroplanes and they are burning fuel, so they are not only emitting carbon monoxide but they are also emitting sulfur dioxide, Similarly, the forest or wildfires, when burned, they produce ammonia. From the agricultural fields, we also get various types of volatile organic compounds. Similarly, various factories are also emitting volatile organic compounds, nitrogen dioxides and nitric oxides. Vehicular exhaust also is responsible for the emissions like volatile organic compounds, nitrogen dioxide, nitric oxide, and sulfur dioxide. Similarly, the power generation, especially the diesel engines, they produce a very well known concentration of particulate matter. Similarly, the primary pollutants, here we have mentioned all these are man-made, whereas volcanic eruptions are also producing the primary pollutants. So we can summarize that all these sources like fossil fuel burning, the wildfires, agriculture, land, factories, industries, power generation, vehicular exhaust, these are the sources of primary pollutants, whereas volcanic eruptions are also the natural sources of primary pollutants. Now, these primary pollutants are converted into secondary pollutants after doing various types of chemical reactions in the troposphere. Most of these reactions involve sunlight. So, what are the secondary pollutants? So, if we see sulfur trioxide, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, hydrogen peroxide, ammonium ion, ground level ozone, particulate matter. So, if you see here that particulate matter is also included in primary pollutants and particulate matter is also included in secondary pollutants. For example, the carbon smoke is directly emitted from the power generation is producing the primary pollutants particulates. Whereas in case of secondary pollutants such as ammonium ions after reacting with nitrate ions generate ammonium nitrate, and this ammonium nitrate or solid salt is also in the form of particle which is called as particulate. So it means the particulate matter may have its origin in as primary or may have origin as secondary. So this is placed in both types of pollutants categories. Next, we will see a brief overview of what are the primary pollutants. So, first primary pollutant we are discussing is carbon monoxide. So, there is a triple bond between carbon and oxygen. So, carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless, and it is a very poisonous gas. So, how it is formed? Whenever the carbon is burnt in the limited supply, so in the incomplete combustion process involving its burning in the fuels such as petrol, coal, and wood, carbon monoxide is produced. So, in every reaction, when there is limited supply, so carbon dioxide is not formed while carbon monoxide is formed. The biggest source of carbon monoxide is the exhaust pipes of the vehicles, especially when they are moving slowly or the engine is idle. Because when the vehicle is in idle condition or is moving in slow motion, so there is less supply of oxygen. So in place of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide is produced. Carbon monoxide is very toxic gas. It is very dangerous and it is a silent killer as carbon monoxide combines with the iron, and once this bond is formed, then this bond never breaks, and then oxygen carrying capacity of blood is destroyed, and the whole hemoglobin molecule containing iron is then enriched with carbon monoxide, leading to the death of the living organism and also provide damage to the nervous system. So this is the very lethal and toxic colorless, odorless, and poisonous gas. Second primary pollutant is nitrogen dioxide. The group of nitrogen oxides is also called as NOx, mainly containing nitrogen and varying amount of oxygen. Particularly nitrogen dioxide is reddish brown gas. It has unpleasant smell and is poisonous in nature, and it is the main culprit behind the formation of photochemical smoke. Uh, the nitrogen dioxide can also form secondary pollutants, which can lead to the acidification, as the nitric acid is actually the reason behind the acid rain, and nitric acid is formed directly from the nitrogen dioxide. The main reason of nitrogen dioxide is the burning of fossil fuels at high temperature, whereas natural sources include lightning in the skies. Uh, Whereas the human or man-made sources include burning of fossil fuels or the emissions from vehicle exhaust. The serious threat of nitrogen dioxide to human health includes respiratory problems, inflammations to the lining of lungs. It also reduces immunity to lung function, and this also causes coughing, cold, flu, and bronchitis. Actually, there are various types of oxides of sulfur. The most common among SOx is the sulfur dioxide. So it is a colorless gas and it burn with match type of smell. The sulfur dioxide is important pollutant as it is also the source of secondary pollutants, and it also cause acidification. So the one of the secondary pollutant it produces is H2SO4 or sulfuric acid, which is a very strong acid and it cause acid rain. The major source of sulfur dioxide is the burning of sulfur enriched fuels such as coal and oil. And in the industry, the metal containing ores such as aluminium, copper, zinc, lead, and iron are also the sources of sulfur dioxide. However, the major source is the burning of coal and fuel that is mostly used for energy generation and energy and industrial activities. The natural sources include volcanoes and hot springs. Sulfur dioxide is also dangerous to the human health and it is also dangerous for the plants as it causes acid rain, and it not only destroys vegetation but also provide a very lethal effects to the materials. Next primary pollutant is particulate matter, or simply called as particulates. These are very tiny pieces of solid, liquid, or gaseous particles, and they are composed of hundreds of chemicals, including carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, and metal parts. So, what are the size range of these particulate matter? This can be described in this diagram. So, the finest beach sand particle is of 90 micrometer, whereas this is the human hair and its size is about 50 micrometer. And on this human hair, these are the small balls, and the size of these small balls is 10 micrometer. And if we separate this small ball, and if we see here that on the this blue colored 10 micrometer particle size, the pink particle is actually the 2.5 micrometer size. So it means these pink and these blue particle size is actually the size of PM10 and PM2.5 particulate matter. They are mainly originated from sources like construction sites, vehicular exhaust, industrial sites, unpaved roads. It also comes in various shapes. Some are large enough to be seen with naked eye, whereas others can be seen only through microscopes. The particles of 10 micrometer or greater than 10 micrometer are generally filtered by nose and throat. However, the particles of 10 micrometer or smaller can reach into the deepest part of lungs, whereas the particle size of 2.5 micrometer can even reach to the bloodstreams. Next primary pollutant is ammonia. It is soluble colorless gas with strong pungent smell, and it is mainly emitted in the environment through agricultural activities, whereas some amount of vehicular exhaust is also responsible for its emission. Actually, ammonia also contribute in the formation of secondary particulates such as ammonium ions and these ammonium ions with the sulfur dioxide form various types of products. So the biggest source of the ammonia release is the agricultural activities. Ammonia when is changed into ammonium ion, and then when these ammonium ions fall onto the vegetation, so temporarily the vegetation growth increases due to the supply of nitrogen to the plants. However, ammonia is considered to be the pollutant as it forms secondary pollutants and also particulate matter. So that is why it is also dangerous to the human health and to the environment. Next, we will have a look on secondary pollutants. So first secondary pollutant is called as ground level ozone, or it is also called as tropospheric ozone, because there are two types of ozone: stratospheric ozone and tropospheric ozone. So the ground level or tropospheric ozone is dangerous. It is a colorless gas, and it is also the major content of the photochemical smoke. It is formed by various types of chemical reactions between nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds in the presence of sunlight. Primary pollutants can be transported over a long distance by wind generating ozone. So it means ozone is produced in urban areas where it can transported to the rural areas. So why it is dangerous? It is very dangerous to the respiratory tract, cause eye irritations, chest tightness, coughing, wheezing, and is responsible for various respiratory and heart problems. Ozone is also damaging to the plants as it reduces the food quantity of the crops. Ozone is also affecting the material, especially rubber material or plastic material, as ozone destroys those materials through free radical reaction mechanisms. And even we can smell the ozone after some heavy thunderstorm, or if we do washing and the drying of the clothes in a hot day also produces ozone. Next secondary pollutant is acid rain, and it is formed by the reaction of nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide with the atmospheric water to produce nitric acid and sulfuric acid. These compounds are transported by wind to the wide areas, and then they fall to the ground either in the form of wet or dry deposition. So the main sources of production of acid rain is nitrogen and sulfur dioxides from the burning of fossil fuels in the industries and vehicles. So the acid rain when drops, it provides a serious damage to the plants and trees, and it increases the acidity levels of our soils, rivers, and streams, thus affect the ecosystem of the environment. Apart from the vegetation, it also provide damage to the material things, buildings, and sculptures. The nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide itself are very irritating things, and these can also irritate our airways and can increase the irritation to eyes. So next secondary pollutant is called as nutrient enrichment, and actually it is the formation of particles such as ammonium nitrate. So the nutrient enrichment contents are produced when nitrogen oxides and ammonia react with the atmospheric water. So the major sources include ammonia, sulfur dioxide, and NOx. So the products formed are like ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate, ammonium hydrogen sulfate. So in this way, various types of products. And why we call it as nutrient enrichment, as these when produced and they are converted into the products, and they fly long distances from their place of origin, and they come onto the ground either in the form of dry deposition or in the form of wet deposition. And when they drop on the plants, so because they contains the contents like nitrogen and sulfur, so they temporarily boost up the growth of the plant. So that is why the word nutrient enrichment has come. However, this seems to be the advantageous for the plants, but actually it is not so much. The reason is that many plant species don't like to have a greater amount of intake of nitrogen contents. So when nitrogen available exceeds the demand from the plants, the excess is leached out, increase the level of the nitrogen contents in the logs and rivers. So the nutrient enrichment caused by the pollutants increase availability of nitrogen for plant growth. They can result in changes in habitat, and various types of plant species can deteriorate due to the imbalance in the natural abundance or concentration of nitrogen sulfur contents. So this was all about today's lecture. I hope you have well understood this lecture, but still if you feel confusion, then you can ask your queries in the comment section of this video. I will respond to your queries as soon as possible. Okay, thank you. Allah Hafiz.